If you're using FL Studio 21, you definitely need to know this trick. What's up guys, and welcome back to yet another video. And in this video I'm going to show you 21 tips and tricks in FL Studio which everyone needs to know. So I hope you enjoy it. Tip number 1, split and merge patterns. So in FL Studio, one pattern can contain multiple elements. And right now I'm going to show you how to split and merge those elements. So right now we're going to open up the channel rack. And right now those are just the stock samples which are in there. So as you can see right now, the channel rack contains 2 layers. And right now we're going to split those. And after splitting those elements, you want to put them in the playlist. So right now we're going to open up the playlist. So select the view playlist right here. Make sure we select pattern 1 and we enable this pattern picker, which is this piano icon. And then we select right mouse button on the pattern selector and then select split by channel. And as you can see right now, we split one pattern into 2 separate patterns or layers. And now we could just easily drag them into the playlist. And this is definitely the easiest way how to start building your arrangement. So we could also merge them together again. So right now, make sure you select both using command. And then select playlist options right here, then edit, and then we're going to merge those 2 selected clips. And as you can see right now, we've merged them together again. So open up the channel rack, and this is definitely a trick which you will use when you're building your arrangement. Tip number 2, audio into MIDI. So right now I'm going to show you multiple ways how to convert your audio file into a MIDI file. And this is something which I use all the time when I'm making beats. So now I'm just going to pick a random sample from one of my sample packs. And first I'm going to start off using a bass line. So for example, let's drag in this one. We adjust the BPM to 102, stretch. So we just click on the sample, then the sampler pops up. And then we press the right mouse button on this audio clip. And then we select Edit in Audio Editor, which is Edison. So as you can see, I've opened up Edison. And right now, we, for example, could start off by detecting pitch regions. So right now, Edison already detected the pitch of those samples or waveforms. So right now, all the notes are made visible. So right now, we open up the channel rack again. And right now, we could just simply use an FL key. Then we'll make sure we select this one in the channel rack. So right now it's marked green. We open up Edison again, and then we select tools, go to analysis, and then convert to score and dump into piano roll. And we've assigned this one, as you can see. And right now we've converted the waveform into MIDI files. And right now you could quantize it by pressing Option Q. And now you quantize it to the grid. So this is how you can convert audio into MIDI. It's pretty easy to convert audio into MIDI when it comes to bass lines. Those are just low frequencies. But for example, if we're using a sample which contains way more high frequencies, like this, we can do exactly the same. So right mouse button on the audio and then select Edit in Audio Editor. Then we select regions and then select pitch detect regions. Right now it's getting pretty messy. Easy trick is to use an EQ. So you could also first use an EQ and then render a sample, but we could also use the built-in EQ, so the equalizer. I always tend to cut everything from around 200 Hertz because Edison is just better in recognizing those frequencies. So we still have some frequencies left. Press accept. And right now we're going to do exactly the same. So we're pressing detect pitch regions. And right now it's way more precise. And it's just an easy trick, for example, to find the key of a sample or find some notes if you want to add some afterwards. This is by far the easiest way how to do it. So definitely go and try this yourself using a sample. Tip number 3, faster workflow when it comes to naming plugins and linking them to the mixer channel. So if we want to link a sample to the mixer, we could easily assign the target mixer track right here. So this one is targeted to mixer insert 1. And the easiest way how to copy this name, so the 808 kick, into this one, make sure to select it. So it's marked green. Then open up the mixer. Then right mouse button, channel routing, and then route selected channels to this track. And as you can see right now, the name from the channel rack is just copied into the mixer. We could also do this for multiple elements. So for example, we select those ones, just select them all, and open up the mixer again, insert the next one, channel routing, and then because we've selected multiple tracks, we could select the second one. So route selected channels starting from this track. Select this one. And as you can see right now, we've added multiple elements to the mixer and copied the name. This saves you a lot of time when building and mixing a full track. Tip number 4, scale automation clips. So for example, I want to create a 4-bar animation clip. And this is just an easy way how to create an animation clip. So for example, the kick volume, the 808 kick volume, then select create animation clip. So right now we've created a channel volume. And right now we could open it up by pressing on the top bar. And then we could, for example, enable LFO. And then we could create a sine, just at random. And then we have those knobs right here, minimum and maximum. And right now we are able to adjust the range of this animation clip. And by using this trick, you do not have to tweak each point of the animation clip. You could just edit the whole animation clip at once. And we could also time stretch the animation clip right here. So by using those 3 knobs, it's just so easy to make adjustments to an animation clip. And this trick also saves you a lot of time. And I also want to show you guys this. For example, if you're using a third-party plugin, you're not always able to create an animation clip using the right mouse button. So for example, we want to automate the mix. So just select it, just drag it around. Then we select tools, last tweaked, and then we create an animation clip. And as you can see right now, we're able to create an animation clip. So if you've not yet figured this out, I hope it will help you. Tip number 5, CPU saving. Another neat feature is smart disable plugins. You could find it right here, tools, and then select macros, and then select switch smart disable for all plugins. And this basically means when you're not using the plugin, it will just close it in the background. So it will not keep running and just consumes more of your CPU power. And if you're still experiencing some crackles or whatever, just open up options, then select general, and then we could, for example, edit the automation. So right now it's set to make it pretty, but if you select don't distract me, this will also save you a lot of CPU. And right now in FL Studio 21, we could also force the high performance plan. So your computer will consume some more power, but this will definitely improve the performance of FL Studio. Tip number 6, piano roll functions. So in the beginning of this tutorial, I brought in those 4 kick notes in the piano roll. And right now we want to enable ghost notes. And this is trick number 1. And we select the 808 clap. And right now we're able to see the kick notes which we draw in. So you could enable or disable this function using options, view, and then select ghost channels. So right now let's disable it. So right now it looks like this. Let's enable it again. And for me personally, I like to use this function. So for example, if you're using multiple melody layers, this could definitely help you out and just make your workflow way much faster. So the next piano roll function which I'm going to show you is the randomizer. So I just draw in this simple chord progression, and then right now we're going to select piano roll options, tools, and then select randomize, and the shortcut is option R. And right now we could also randomize the pattern in C in scale, so we could just add a random scale, play around. You could also play around with the length of the notes and the variation, play around with the range, could be anything. So right now the randomizer applies to the chord progression, and we could randomize the levels. So we could, for example, randomize the panning, the velocity, the release, the pitch, everything. So we could start off by being bipolar. So right now it's from 0 to minus, for example, 40% to plus 50. We could also then select bipolar again. And right now, as you can see, we're starting from 0 when it comes to making adjustments. So you could just play around with this function. And we could also say reset before processing. So it always starts on 78%, which is the starting point when it comes to the velocity and the control functions. We could also use the strummer. So we could select options again, tools, and then use strum, which is option S. And right now we could strummize the melody. So have a look at the velocity, at the control box right here. So we could adjust the time, we could adjust the tension. So for example, if we've adjusted the time right here, and we could also adjust the velocity. So using the strummizer, if you've already created a chord progression, for example, piano melody, it's just so easy to humanize the melody a little bit. I always recommend to use preserve end, because otherwise we're going to extend this chord progression, and that's something what we don't want when we want to drag it into the arrangement, if you want to keep your project clean. And we could also say trigger ahead. So if you like this function, just play around with it when you've created the melody. And we could also adjust the end of the notes right here, as you can see. We could also select alternate direction. So we could inverse the direction, could be anything. And then just accept or maybe reset. That's it. So the next tip is if you, for example, want to adjust a specific note in a chord progression, you could select Command. So make sure it's marked red, then select Option, and then use the scroll wheel. And as you can see right now, we're adjusting the velocity of this specific note without having to adjust it and then play around with it manually. Just leave it there, select it, Option, and make sure your pointer is in here, and then just scroll. And the next piano roll function is Scales. And this is something which is incredibly powerful. So open up Options again, and then select View, and then select Scale Highlighting. And as you can see right now, we could select a root note. So those are all the root notes. Then we could select the scale. So right now you could say default, just show the black notes or automatic. But right here, you could pick the scale. So right now we're in C minor natural. So right now I've selected this one. For example, switch it to minor melodic. And as you can see, the black marked notes are adjusted. So right now, if you want to build a melody, just draw within the white highlighted notes. And this way it's so easy to build a chord progression. So for example, if you want to build a melody in A minor natural, it's just so easy to build a melody, even if you don't have any music theory knowledge. And the next trick which I want to show you is fast copying in a piano roll. So for example, select this one, then select Control or Command C, and then Command or Control B. And this way it's very easy to just copy the chord progression or a drum loop or whatever you draw into the piano roll. And for example, if this is your chord progression and you want to scale it, you could just select this one. And right now this arrow right here pops up. And we could select Option and then just drag it all around. So right now we could extend it. So now right now it's double time. This is the original one, and we could also shorten it like this. So without having to adjust the whole melody, it's just so easy and convenient to scale the melody like this. So right now I'm going to show you another main function in the piano roll, which is the ARP. So right now this is our chord progression again. Then we select Options, then select Tools, and then we select ARP. And this way we could easily create an ARP melody or arpeggiator in the piano roll. So for example, we could play around like this. We could select flip. So right now it's flip the other way around. Alternate. So let's just leave it on normal. We could adjust the range right here. You could just play around with a bunch of different settings. So if you want to transform your chord progression into an ARP, this is definitely the easiest way how to do it in FL Studio. Tip number 8, mixer channel workflows. So in one of the previous tips, I already showed you how to link a sample from the channel rack to the mixer. And I'm going to show you how to create a bus channel. So for example, I select insert 5, rename this one to bus. So that's also how you can rename something in the mixer channel. And then we select kick. And then, as you can see, this one, by following this green line, this one is linked to the master right here. So by clicking on this arrow right here, we could disable the send. So select this one, this is our bus channel, and then we could just link it right here. So if you want to make the bus channel recognizable, you could rename it, adjust the color, or add an icon. So for example, I want to add a new color to this insert. I just selected the color selector, and then we could just play around. This brown setting, accept again. And as you can see, it's way easier to recognize this bus channel when linking elements to the specific insert. So we could also add an icon. So right mouse button, rename, and then select this arrow right here. And then we could just, for example, add a number, a routing, or something like this. And as you can see right now, this icon is added on top. And for example, if I want to add more elements, for example, to the right from the snare, I want to move this bus channel. And there is also an easy trick how to do this without having to remove and link everything again. So make sure you select it, then press Option, and then press arrow to the right on the keyboard. And as you can see right now, I'm able to move this specific insert or bus channel. And for example, we've linked the kick to this bus. As you can see, it's still linked, nothing has changed. So this also could save you a lot of time. And if, for example, you've created this bus channel with a lot of effects and you want to just copy it, you could just right mouse button, select File, and then select Save Mixer State. And and then for example link it to insert 11, and this could also save you just a lot of time. For example, you've added this fruity balance to the mixer and you just want to copy this exact preset. You just select options on the preset, then select save preset as, but we're not going to click this one, just select it and hold it, and then drag it onto insert 11. And as you can see right now, we just copied the fruity balance with the exact same settings to insert 11. So without having to copy it manually, this just copies it right away. Tip number 9, quick rendering as audio clip. So for example, you've created a melody in the piano roll and you just want to quick render it to add some more effects later on. So right now I'm selecting this piano chord, which we've created earlier on. And right now we're going to quick render this pattern. So we're going to select pattern right here in the menu panel and then select render as audio clip. We could also select quick render right here. And right now it has already rendered. So right now we're going to open up the playlist again. Then right here, select the picker and select audio clips. And right here is our piano chord waveform audio clip. So right now, just drag it into the playlist. And as you can see right now, we've just rendered the exact same chord progression which we've created. So without having to record audio in Edison, you could just render it right away. Tip number 10, reduce sample rate. So now I'm going to show you an awesome trick which is not a lot of people know. So I'm going to show the sampler from the piano chord, then right mouse button, and then we're going to open this one up in Edison, in the audio editor. And then right here is sample rate. A lot of people, if they want to remove high frequencies from a sample, they just use an EQ, but this is just another way how to do it. And sometimes the outcome is just awesome. So right mouse button on the sample rate. And right now we open up the sample properties. And right now, format, we could adjust the sample rate. So we could just type in a value manually or open up some preset values. And for example, select this one. So we reduce the sample rate by half. Accept. And right now we just remove some high frequencies and it just does something unique with the specific sample. And first we add this. Hate it or like it, I just sometimes want to do this when I'm creating some samples. Quick reverse reverb. So a lot of people want to create a kind of reverb effect before, for example, chord progression comes in. This chord progression right now just sounds so dry and we want to create an uplifting reverb reverse effect. So we could just open up the piano chord again. This one is perfect for applying this trick. So for example, we could just pick a random part of this sample. So we just have a little bit left of this waveform. Something like this. Then we select reverb in Edison. And then we want to make sure the dry is on 0 and the wet just maximum 100%. So right now the sample looks like this. So right now we simply want to reverse the sample. So we select edit and then time and then select reverse. And now we're gonna drag this one into the arrangement. So right now we've reversed the piano chord and added a lot of reverb. And this is something which is used in a lot of tracks and beats. But for example, if you want to reverse the exact same chord, just select it, then select clone. So you create a second one. Just drag this one into the arrangement, then open it up and then select reverse. And you're basically creating exactly the same. Crossfades and modes. So when we open up the playlist, we could select the slicing tool and this way we could cut this sample, for example. So let's zoom in on this piano chord sample. And right now we want to avoid any clicking or popping sounds. So you open up the sample and then we select the declicking mode. And right now it's set to transient, so nothing is happening, so no bleeding. So we want to, for example, select generic bleeding. And right now this sample is just fading out. But there is also a new function of Studio. We could also add a fade out manually. So for example, like this. And play around, we could just adjust the tension, for example. And right now we could also, for example, adjust the gain right here of this sample. Some new awesome functions in FL Studio 21. So the next trick is making patterns and samples unique. So now I have two exactly the same samples in my playlist. So the piano chord sample. And I want to make one unique. So for example, I want to make an adjustment to the sample right here. So for example, this one, the out, it automatically applies to both. And by making that unique, you can make unique adjustments to a specific sample. So how to do this? So left mouse button on the top corner right here, and then select audio clip and then make unique. And then right now this one is made unique, nothing has changed, but you are able to make an adjustment to this sample specifically. And you could also apply the exact same trick when it comes to patterns, automation clips, etc. So for example, if I draw in two of those piano chords again and I want to make the second one unique, just select this one and then select make unique. And right now it's copied. And you could also make just adjustments to the second one. So the next tip is how to edit samples in the sampler. So when we open up the sampler, for example, so let's use the 808 kick. There are a lot of functions in this sampler. So we could, for example, play around with the pre-computed effects. So we could normalize this sample, we could reverse it, we could reverse the polarity. We could also adjust the sample itself by playing around with the out, so we could minimize the tail or just use the quick fade in function. We could adjust the length of the sample, we could adjust the start of the sample, we could trim the sample, so we're removing the sections of the sample which are just 0 dB, which contain nothing. But we could also add some effects in the sampler itself. So open up the second one, so the effects target, and then we could, for example, enable clip and we could boost the sample. So right now it's clipping. So we could, for example, play around with EQ. We could add some ring modulation, ring frequency. There is already a built-in cutoff frequency filter. So we could remove a lot of high frequencies, play around with the filter resonance, add some reverb, add some stereo delay or pongo effect. We could apply a lot of effects just in the sampler. So definitely something which you could apply to your samples. The next step is purge unused sample tracks. So for example, your project just contains a huge amount of samples and audio clips or whatever, and you just want to clean it up. There is an easy trick how to just purge all the elements which are just useless. So open up Tools, Macros, and then select Purge Unused Audio Clips. So now this will just remove all the unused audio clips at once. And this also just saves you a lot of time instead of just removing every element manually. The backup folder and the redo function. So for example, you've made an adjustment and you just don't like it and you want to redo this step. You could just easily undo or undo history, but that's just one step. But you want to undo, for example, 3 steps. Select this one and then use the right mouse button, and right now the whole project history pops up. And you could, for example, undo the purge unused clips or clone channels or pongo effect. You could just undo a lot of tweaks at once. So for example, if I select this one, all those adjustments are undone. And this function could just easily undo any tweaks you've made. And if you've made a mistake or your project has crashed or anything, I'm going to show you how to find the backup folder. I think it's the same on Windows, also the documents folder, and then select image line, then select FL Studio, then select projects, and then there is this backup folder. And as you can see, I'm auto-saving my projects every 2 or 3 minutes. So if you want to recover, this is how to do it. You could just open up this FLP again and then just save it. So now I'm going to show you how to export a MIDI. So for example, I want to export this MIDI file, which is in the piano roll. So right now select Options, File, and then Export as MIDI file. And right now you just want to make sure you export it as this .mid file, so not the FL Studio score file, because if you send it to someone who is using Logic or Ableton, this person is just not able to open up the FL Studio score file. So make sure you export the MIDI file. So for example, if you've created an awesome drum loop or chord progression and you want to use it in more of your tracks, this is just an easy way how to save this specific MIDI file. There is also a way how to export all the MIDIs in your project, but I'm not going to show you in this tutorial. And I'm also going to show you how to export all the stems from a project. So a lot of people will export every step individually, but there's also a trick how to do this all at once. So make sure you link all the elements which you want to export to the mixer. So all those ones, you select File, Export, and then select WAV file. So save it as test, save. So just use these settings. And then we want to split mixer tracks. And now it will export every mixer track into an individual file. So for example, if you want to export a project to mix and master it, this is by far the easiest way how to do it. So make sure all the elements are linked to the mixer correctly, then select split mixer tracks, and it will export all the tracks individually. The next tip is how to create a zip file. So for example, I want to collab with another artist and I want to send them the project which I've just created, including all the samples. And this could be a pain in the ass if you do it manually. So in FL Studio, there is an easy way how to do this. So select File, select Export, and then select Zip Loop Package. And then make sure you select Zip Loop File. And when creating this zip loop file, FL Studio will also put all the samples in one folder. So the other person could just open this zip file and everything is included. Saves you a lot of time. The next tip is metadata. So this is definitely one of the most boring tricks which I'm going to show you. Open up Options and then select project info on the project, and then right here we could, for example, write down the title, the author. We could just add a genre, add a comment, add a web link to, for example, your website, and then show this info at opening. So for example, if you zip the file and send it to another producer, he just opens up the file and he just knows where it's from, how he can reach you, etc. Boring trick, but it could be useful. Saving and backup your file. So I've already showed you how to find your backup, and I'm going to show you how to make sure FL Studio backs up your file frequently. So open up Options and then select File Settings. And we're now on top right here is Backup, and then this is the autosave function. And then I highly recommend to select very frequently, every minute and before a risk operation. So this could be opening up a third-party plugin which is not yet compatible and your project is gone. So make sure to select this one. So this will definitely avoid any broken monitors or laptops. And this is tip 21, and this is also the final one. Make sure to just download free FLPs on YouTube. These will definitely help you out by understanding FL Studio, learning new tricks, and just figuring out this DAW the fast way. So just look at some random projects and I can assure you, you will learn new things every time you open up an FLP. So see how things are done, linked, edited, could be anything. So for me, when I started out years ago, I just went through so much FLPs, and this way I was able to learn the program very quickly. So I can definitely recommend this way of learning FL Studio to you guys. So I also want to mention, guys, make sure to check out the link in the description. I will give away some free FL Studio presets which are just so easy to use, and I also have some free sample packs available. So the link will also be in the description. Make sure to check it out. And that's it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave it a thumbs up. Also make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in one of my next tutorials.